branch today. Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling Seaboard Marine at 949-4977.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the first day of August, 2018. How quickly the year 2018 is moving along. For those children who are, I shouldn't say yes, children, for those persons who are out of school, you're probably saying, how quickly the month has gone. We'll soon be back in school again. I remember, when I was in school, you looked forward to the holidays, and gosh, when you knew it, they were all gone. They go so quickly. But this year is certainly moving along quite quickly as well. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on your way to work, that you're enjoying your travels to your workplace. Those of you who are at work already, I hope that you have an opportunity at some point, if not now, at some point, to listen to our show this morning as well. I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Orrett Connor, also known as OC, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Normally, that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. We also have a WhatsApp number. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261. If you use that WhatsApp number, do not expect someone to answer that number, but you're encouraged to leave a text message or a voice note. If you leave a voice note, then the contents of that voice note will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube as well, and you do that by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream as well. We should have in the studio with us this morning MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan. I haven't heard from him yet, but he's usually on time, and he very seldom misses a show. So if there are any changes, I will let you know along the way. Meanwhile, we will have our open mic, give you an opportunity again to talk as much as you want. Several topics that we will be talking about this morning in the event that we don't have a guest. One of those topics we see where the Department of Immigration has announced an immigration amnesty. We can talk about that. I know a little bit about immigration. I spent a little time over in the immigration department during my lifetime, so I know a little bit about immigration. I also want to caution people are out there, our listening and viewing audience, about the serious nature of the burglaries that are taking place throughout the islands. Sometimes we see a spike in the number of burglaries. Sometimes we see a decrease in it. Normally, this time of the year, for various reasons, we see an increase. Some attribute it to the number of children who are on the island. Some attribute it to the number of children who are out of school. Not only those who come to visit the island, but those who reside here as well. But one disturbing incident that I am aware of that has taken place, and I want to caution you, our listeners, about this. People have a tendency to leave valuables in their vehicles. They have a tendency to leave other important items in their vehicles. We have seen an increase in the number of vehicular thefts in the Cayman Islands. For some reason, Honda Civics, Honda CRVs have been the target, but other vehicles as well. I want to caution you, do not leave your house keys inside of your vehicles. Do not leave your house keys inside of your vehicle. If your vehicles are parked, if your vehicles or a vehicle is parked outside. There are incidents where criminals have broken into vehicles, rummaged the vehicles, found what appears to be house keys, then use those house keys to enter into your premises. So be extra cautious. Do not leave valuable items. Do not leave items that make you susceptible. Your personal safety, that puts your personal safety at risk. Do not leave them in your vehicles. We have a tendency to take too many things for granted here in the Cayman Islands, and our criminals are getting more and more sophisticated. A lot of them don't have anything to do during the day. They're scheming and trying to figure out how they can outwit you, how they can outsmart you, how they can deprive you of your hard-earned valuables that you may have. So please, please, please take extra precaution. Do not leave things scattered in your vehicles where they can be seen, and because of the fact that the car thieves are becoming so much more sophisticated, do not leave any items inside of your vehicles. Please, please, please. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C., and how are you this lovely day?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you? How are things up there in the north?
But extremely thankful, you know. It's quiet and nice.
Good.
Sound like to me.
Great.
Very good.
Great. What do you have to tell me today? Everything is fine. Everything is fine. What do you have to tell me today?
Okay. Well, I want to get a little follow-up on what you and me spoke about a couple of weeks ago. I think a couple of weeks ago. When I asked you about who makes the laws here, and you answered that quite well. You remember that, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then. I said thank you very much for that, man.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then I asked you about the acting governor portion there. We had a little short discussion on that. And then I made a little suggestion as to why don't we, since this is the topic, why don't we leave the acting governor in place and just leave him there permanently by removing the acting and just leaving the governor of the Cayman Islands. And that seems to be picked up quite a bit of
some traction.
Of contact. It looked like a set of points, looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting together fairly good. So I'm still thinking that that's a good idea, very good idea. And since I believe I was first that morning and first this morning and first to suggest such things, I'm going to ask you now, can you replay that?
That would be extremely difficult to do it now. They would have to search.
Okay.
They would have to search the archives for that particular show.
Okay, but you can replay it.
I'm sure that
it can be.
I'm sure that they can find it. Yes.
Okay then. And if I wanted a copy of that, I don't think I would have to go through the FOI now for such things like that, would I?
Well, I don't think so. I can't speak on behalf of management, but I can tell you that based on my experience, that you will find management here extremely flexible and they try to be as accommodating as possible with it. Now, one of the things that would assist them with that would be to know the specific date that you made that suggestion. Do you recall who my guest may have been on that day?
No, that's the point. I don't think it was anybody there on that day.
Okay. Yeah, we would need to know the specific date that it occurred. Otherwise, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Okay. Well, is there any way you could assist me on that? Mm-hmm. I mean, since you right there with all the all that.
But I mean, it can be confirmed. I know that you raised it, and you were the first to raise it on my show. Whether or not it had been raised anywhere else by anyone, you or I don't possibly know that. But that is a fact. So there's no denying that you raised that specific point, caller. That
is the part.
Yes.
To know that it was raised.
Mm-hmm. Now the big question is whether is it possible for it to happen? Do we think that it will happen? I think that's where the discussion needs to go. And one of the things that will guide us on our way with that would be our Constitution and the terms and conditions of our Constitution. For instance, our Constitution makes it quite clear that the deputy governor must be a Caymanian. No specifics are in our Constitution in relation to the governor and where that governor should come from. Last night I was doing some research in relation to the 1999 white paper, Partnership for Progress and Prosperity, and the 2012 review of that as well. And one of the things in there was the fact that they were advocating that the overseas territories should have some say and in relation to once candidates were chosen by the UK for the position of governor in the Cayman Islands, that the overseas territories, the governments of the overseas territories, should have some say in terms of the qualities of the person that they were looking for and things of that nature. But caller, we've reached a point where we have to go to a commercial break. We continue to listen in because this particular topic will be discussed, hopefully today. If not today, then possibly on Friday as well. Folks, please stay tuned. I believe we have one more caller. We're going to ask that caller to hang in there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue on For the Record.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The early charts of Grand Cayman notes the small village of Hogstyes and is known today as the busy hub of Georgetown, the capital city of the Cayman Islands. Although relatively insignificant in the past, the area's development was fostered due to the suitability of its location. Similar to Watering Place in Cayman Brac, Hogstyes offered potable water from an inland source, leeward shelter from the prevailing winds, and a good holding bottom. The small gun battery named Fort George equally offered peace of mind and security to the harbour town community of swineherds and fishermen. Thanks to its geographical benefits, the offshore anchorage would later grow into the primary maritime conduit. And during the winter months and the onset of nor'westers, ship would also seek shelter by anchoring along the southern coast.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from The Maritime Heritage of the Cayman Islands by Roger C. Smith.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Why rush around paying bills when you can pay most of your bills online? Cayman National offers an extensive list of service providers. Visit CaymanNational.com and log on to our personal or business online banking systems. Not an online banking customer? Contact their customer support team on 949-8300 for more information.
Are you kidding me?
What's wrong?
I ran out of my meds and I have an interview in about an hour.
Why not call CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy? They'll be able to help.
You think so?
Absolutely. Their pharmacists are brilliant for fast, efficient and professional service.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. We strive to make your health our concern. We recognize the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care. That is why we offer personalized one-on-one counseling. Call us today or visit our website at caymanpharmacy.com.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record with your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold, going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning again, Jose. Hope you're having a good week.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I am, certainly, and I hope the same for you.
Yeah, when you're talking about leaving stuff behind your car and all that, it prompted me to ask a question here. If I go to a business place and I forgot my debit card, I report it, ask them about it. If they find it, do they have a right to destroy it, and then I have to pay $25 to buy a new one?
If the store that you went to found the debit card,
yeah,
do they have a right to destroy it?
Yeah,
I am not aware of that. I know that there are situations, for instance, where the issuing entity, the issuing institution, may direct a merchant to destroy a card if for some reason they find that the card is invalid. I've seen that happen. But if your card is valid and you have accidentally left it or lost it at the store and it has been found, then in essence that person should really restore that card to you.
Yeah, well, you see, I use my card in a different ATM from where my card has been
issued. Okay.
I have a national card, right?
Yes.
And the machine took my card. I forgot to take it out right away.
Mm-hmm.
And the machine took my card.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went to the other bank and found out about it, and it seemed like only once a week, which I think is very bad service anyway, that they check on these. But I'm made to understand that if you get the card, they're going to destroy it, and I have to go to my bank and purchase another card for $25.
Okay, I can't speak to the procedures of the bank, but I believe that the reason that the machine took the card may have been to basically protect you at that point in the event that someone else got their hands on the card once you left it in the machine.
Yeah, but then they destroy the card instead of giving it back to me?
Well, I think that's what the machine basically is programmed to do, to destroy it.
No, I've gotten back my card another time from some years ago from a machine.
Yeah, well, some years ago, things have changed considerably in that industry now. There's so much fraud. Things have changed considerably.
I don't see why they have any right to destroy my property, which I use in a public machine there.
But you forgot. But you left it in the machine, and that particular policy that they have and the system that they have in place, you left it in the machine, so the machine took it and destroyed it so that no one else, someone with malicious intent, could not use that card again. So, caller, I would stress that was to protect you. Now, as far as whether or not you have to pay for another card, remember now, this is your negligence. You forgot it in the machine.
I do not see why the banks, if they take my card, they have my card, and they won't give it back to me for any reason. And if they have a machine that destroys your car, maybe they should go back to the original, where the machine sucks in your card, it is not destroyed.
Caller, what I would suggest that you do is that go to your issuing institution, ask to speak to someone in authority there for them to explain to you exactly what it is, because really it's impossible for me to do it here on the show because I really don't know the policies out there. But I'm going to ask you to leave us there because we have two more callers and we want to accommodate both of those callers before the 8 o'clock news. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Just fine. Just like to make a little request of you, I think it's very important. These days when we hear people talking about independence because of a pending edict or order in council, I would like to ask you if you would please do a little program, or maybe Mr. Dr. Steve McPhee or others, the Gilbertons, Roy Borden or so forth, could put in on this. Have a good conversation about the 1962 elections. Both parties ran more or less for the same thing, internal self-government, but one party ran under that it would be run through Jamaica, under Jamaica, with a representative there and so forth. You can explain that in detail. People can understand. Because it's very important for people 50 years of age or under who are now talking and facing this to understand what caused all this to come about and what we did at that time, what happened at that time 56 years ago, and the subsequent results of the elections and what transpired when the Stormont Panda, I think, resigned his seat and so forth. So very important to understand. And then there seems to have been a turnabout face with the parties, and we know of the interference and so forth with the then administrator. But I think it's important that we discuss this in some detail, that people understand why we're where we're at or what we're talking about and why and what transpired then. So I think there was a by-election of who was elected and if any independents at all were elected. But what happened, what transpired, and what motivated them with the party manifestos, both going for full internal self-government, I think it would be a very, very good thing to do at this time as soon as possible. Have that discussion. People 50 years of age or under, or even older than that, can understand what transpired 56 years ago. I thank you very much for giving me the time.
That's a very good suggestion, Colin. While you're there, I just want to say also, I would encourage those who have an opportunity and have access to it to read Mr. Ormond Pannon's book, A Special Son. And he gives you first-hand information in relation to that 1962 election as well. A Special Son, Mr. Ormond Pannon's book that was written in conjunction with Dave Martin. Okay. Do we have no more callers? Okay. I believe that we've gotten some information from someone in the financial services industry, from the banking community, in relation to the ATM machines taking a person's card. I am advised that the card, number one, the card is not destroyed by the machine. Number two, that at the end of the day, the financial institution, the bank, will retrieve that card. The holder of that card then can go to that institution to retrieve their card. Now, and it depends. If someone has stolen the card, that's a different situation altogether. So to that caller who called before, and it's not necessary for that caller to call back in this particular instance, go to your institution. If there is something other than what that caller is telling me that transpired, then, as those old people say, that's a horse of a different color, and you have to deal with that separately. But like I encouraged the caller before, go to your institution, go to your banking institution, talk with them, and they will explain the situation. Folks, we're going to go to a time check for 8 o'clock news. For the record, we'll be back shortly. I'm told that Mr. Bryan is on his way, and he will be here as well. So listen to the news. Don't change that dial. Lots to talk about when we return.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 7:59.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products, from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Later today, police, fire, and the Department of Public Safety and Communications will be participating in an inshore search and rescue exercise, also known as ISAREX. From 1 to 4 p.m. at the West Bay Public Beach, Police Critical Incident Manager, the Joint Marine Unit, Air Operations Unit, and 911 will help put the fire search and rescue protocols to the test. The exercise will help ascertain the timeliness and effectiveness of the fire service in the event of an inshore incident. The Department of Immigration's Enforcement Division announces a 1-month amnesty from prosecution for certain immigration offenses. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
The immigration amnesty starts today and remains in effect until August 31st at 3 p.m. The program is open to those residing illegally in the Cayman Islands, workers who are not working for the employer named on their work permit, and employees on a valid permit but whose employers no longer have full-time employment for them. Immigration authorities say employers may also cancel work permits for employees for whom they have no work. In all of the above cases, if the foreign national leaves during the amnesty period, they won't be prosecuted. period. The amnesty is also open to people who've reached the end of a term limit but haven't left the islands, or visitors who haven't applied for extensions to stay in the country past the initial time they were permitted. DOI officials say anyone who is in the islands illegally can simply make an airline reservation and leave during the amnesty period. Employers and employees who wish to cancel their work permits, however, will need to do that in writing to Immigration Headquarters at 94A Elgin Avenue in Georgetown. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
If you need more information, you're welcome to email legalim@gov.ky. And the Department of Environment rolls out the first stage of its government-funded initiative aimed at culling green iguanas in Grand Cayman. DOE's director, Gina Ebanks-Petrie, says a request for information has been issued, and they're hoping it will help gauge the current and projected local capacity of existing and proposed new local companies engaged in green iguana control.
We know that there are already people out there working in this area. Yeah. But also someone who might be sitting out there thinking, I think I could do this. If I was interested, I'm willing to sort of put a team together, I could do this. Those sorts of people as well. We want them to go on to Bonfire, fill out the questionnaire, see the kinds of information that we're looking for, fill it out, and let us know whether they're interested in participating.
The DOE is hoping to meet a cull target of about 1.4 million green iguanas between September of this year and August of next. Now, of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with David Austin. The former Vice President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Jean-Pierre Bemba, has returned to the capital Kinshasa to be met by thousands of supporters. Mr. Bemba was recently cleared by the International Criminal Court of war crimes and crimes against humanity after spending more than 10 years in exile and prison. He says he wants to run for president. With results still coming in, the Electoral Commission in Zimbabwe says the governing ZANU-PF has won an outright majority in parliament. The opposition MDC has complained of electoral fraud, but Southern African observers have described the poll as peaceful and orderly. Activist groups in Indonesia have lodged formal complaints against district court judges who sentenced a 15-year-old sexual abuse survivor to prison as punishment for having an abortion. The court in Sumatra tried the girl alongside her 18-year-old brother, who was found guilty of raping her repeatedly. A U.S. Defense Department official says initial tests show the contents of more than 50 boxes handed over to the U.S. from North Korea are likely to be American remains from the Korean War. In June, the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, promised to return the remains of U.S. soldiers. The Taliban in Afghanistan say they've eliminated the Islamic State group from the north of the country. They said more than 150 IS fighters were killed in an offensive in Jozjan province. The Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has been summoned to appear before Parliament to respond to questions on his government's handling of the economy. MPs are concerned about the huge fall in the currency, rising prices and growing unemployment. Australian researchers say that for the first time a whole city has been protected from dengue fever. The study involved captive-bred mosquitoes carrying a naturally occurring bacteria being released in the town of Townsville. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Tune in to Radio Cayman every morning at 7:20 a.m. for your daily weather update. Proudly brought to you by Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. With over 47 years of experience, they'll get the job done for you on time. Free estimate. Miller's Plumbing and Accessories. Call them at 949-4709 for a free estimate.
Did you know that improperly packaged garbage can cause injury to DEH garbage collection crews? Help preserve the health of our collectors by ensuring that your household garbage container weighs no more than 40 pounds when full and has proper handles to facilitate easy lifting. Avoid placing broken glass, syringes, or other sharp items with your regular household garbage. Instead, dispose of these items at the 24-hour drop-off site located at the entrance of the Georgetown landfill. Do your part. Keep our communities clean and our collectors safe. For more tips on proper waste handling, visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
In financial news, world shares were mixed today on uncertainties over trade. As news, the U.S. and China may be working to reopen trade talks was overshadowed by talks of plans for even higher tariffs on Chinese imports. Keeping score, Britain's FTSE 100 dropped 0.8% to 7,686, and Germany's DAX fell 0.2% to 12,786 today. France's CAC 40 rose 0.6% to 5,517. Wall Street was set for a subdued opening. Dow futures were 0.1% lower at 25,379. S&P 500 futures were almost flat at 2,816. Looking at Asia's day, Japan's Nikkei 225 index rose 0.9% to 22,746, and South Korea's Kospi added 0.5% to 2,317. The Shanghai Composite Index tumbled 1.8% to 2,824. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index dropped 0.9% to 28,340. Australia's S&P ASX 200 lost 0.1% to 6,275. Shares were higher in Taiwan, Indonesia, and Singapore. In energy, benchmark U.S. crude dropped 49 cents to $68.29 per barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. It lost 2% to settle at $68.76 per barrel on Tuesday. Brent crude used to price international oils fell 34 cents to $73.87 per barrel. And in currencies, the dollar rose to 112.02 yen from 111.83. The euro slipped to 1.1683 from 1.1697.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This July at Kirk Home Center, start your summer renovations with Skills Circular Saw for $87.49. Stack and organize clothes, shoes, and home decor with Supreme's adjustable shelving units starting at $21.30. Get your green thumb going with a gardening window box perfect for growing herbs for $8.99. And get rid of weeds with 1 gallon of lawn weed killer concentrate for $19.99.
Kirk's Home Center, you got a great deal in store for you.
The following is a public service announcement. The Council of the Justices of the Peace Association is pleased to advise the public that general document signing services will be provided 3 days a week in the front lobby of the Government Administration Building. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon, the following services will be provided by volunteer justices: witnessing a signature on an authentic document, certifying a document as a true copy of the original once the original has been provided, witnessing a signature and completing the portion on a Cayman Islands or British passport application, including acknowledging that the photo provided is a true likeness. Please note, a JP must have known the passport applicant for no less than 2 years before signing the application. Identification cards must be presented, and persons seeking the services of the justices must ensure that proper attire is worn when visiting the Government Administration Building.
Your weather update after 8 is brought to you by Brand Source Home Gallery, creating elegant bathrooms with European-style fixtures and fittings.
Brand Source Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs, and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort, and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brand Source Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brand Source Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Good morning. Synopsis indicate isolated showers will continue to linger across the northwest Caribbean for the next 24 hours as an upper level remains supportive of convective activity. Further east, a tropical wave currently over the eastern Caribbean is expected to move into the Cayman area by Thursday morning. Therefore, we can expect isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving west. The forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers, and temperatures will rise to the low 90s. Your winds will be easterly, 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of showers and possible thunder, and temperatures falling to the upper 70s tonight. Your winds will be east to lead 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will occur this morning at 6:34. The next high tide will be at 12:21 this afternoon. Low tide again this evening at 3 minutes after 6. The sun will set this evening at 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 3 minutes after 6. And the outlook is calling for an increase in cloudiness and shower activity from Friday morning as a tropical wave moves into the northwest Caribbean.
Weather update after 8 is brought to you by Brand Source Home Gallery, creating elegant bathrooms with European-style fixtures and fittings.
Good morning, and time now to take a look at the roads. And with your traffic update, I'm Susan. Steady but flowing traffic on Huldah Avenue and also Bobby Thomason Way. From the Westway 4-way stop, moderate traffic in both directions, and light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive. On the Westway Road, traffic moving along moderately. Steady but flowing traffic heading into Georgetown on Shedden Road, and out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, traffic moving light to moderate. On Cool Road, steady but flowing traffic. On the Linford-Pearson Highway, traffic is steady but flowing as well. And the same for the Esterly-Tibbetts Highway. Shamrock Road, moderate flow of traffic. And that's very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 as we update you on what's happening on your roads. Hey, look out for the car in front of you and the car in the back of you, and buckle up. Have a good morning, Cayman Islands.
It's a Jamaican thing as Flow celebrates Jamaica's independence at Foster's Food Fair, Airport Centre on Saturday, August 4th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Come and experience all things Jamaican with food, entertainment, and great Flow deals and prizes. Save big on top-of-the-line Samsung Galaxy smartphones, mobile plan deals, and with a $10 top-up, you can spin and win Flow gear, free data and combo plans, movie tickets, and more. Celebrate Jamaica with Flow, August 4th at Foster's Food Fair. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply.
It's Pure Soul Talk, 7 a.m. on Sunday mornings with Spirit Biz 345. This is a radio segment that's fresh and new, it's non-denominational and fun, it's spiritual and motivational. Plus, you don't need to dress up or even to help pay into my building fund. Spirit Biz 345, about my Father's business. Listen in 7 a.m. Sundays, here and worldwide via streaming and on Facebook. God bless.
In local sport, 13 teams participate in the 4th annual Shooting Stars 3-on-3 basketball tournament in support of the National Council of Voluntary Organizations. 48 athletes competed in 3 age divisions, 7 through 9, 10 through 12, and 13 through 15 at the Arts and Recreation Center at Cayman Bay this past weekend. The Cayman Raptors, made up of team members Mason Miller, Kai Powell, Daniel Joven, and Nathan Miles, won the 7-9 group, defeating the Blue Iguanas 3-0 in the series. In the 10-12 division, Hoopsters defeated the Bucket Boys in a close 4-3 showdown. The champions of Hoopsters were Arian Wright, Derek Ebanks, Hamar Latham, and Jaron Barnes. Wakanda defeated Trilogy 14-7 in the championship game of the 13-15 age group. Joanki Montero, Jabari Walrund, and Micah Ogaro took home the winning trophies. Money brought in from this event will go towards the NCBO's Caring Cousins Lunch Support Program, which supplies hot meals to kids at public schools. These children often come from families who cannot afford to provide lunch for them every day. And in international sports, Football Federation Australia appears on course for a confrontation with FIFA after rejecting, quote, some crucial aspects of a review backed by the world body into the structure of football's governing Congress in the country. The Congress Review Working Group has made recommendations to FIFA for the expansion of the Australia Congress after 7 weeks of consultation with key stakeholders in Australian football. The current Congress is seen as one of the smallest in world football and lacking significant female representation.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have now been joined in the studio by MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan And we have one caller who has waited throughout the news. So I will very quickly say good morning. Welcome to Mr. Bryan. And we will grab the caller and want to thank that caller for being so patient. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Mr. Moderator.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and I hear that you are waxing eloquently as usual.
Thank you.
I waited the 15 minutes because I want to make three very important points.
Yes, sir.
In this whole business, picking up after your last caller before the news.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we in the Cayman Islands have done ourselves a disservice in that we don't offer in our schools any lessons in civics.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this deprivation when I was the Minister of Education many years ago. What I think is needed is for Caymanians of knowledge to write a civics book, which is peculiar to us, and then we will have a greater understanding of the constitutional position we're in. That's the first point I wish to make. The second point is that even allowing for that lack, every conscientious Caymanian should read Mr. Ormond Panton's book, A Special Son.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ormond Panton is my political hero. To my mind, he was the foremost enlightened politician that we have had in the 20th century.
I agree.
And the path he was taking us on was the right path. And the sabotage that cost him the election in 1962, I wrote in my book, Patronage, Personality, and Parties, Caymanian Politics from 1950 to 2000, is a travesty worthy of being acknowledged among the most grave and egregious. And Commissioner Jack Rose, in collusion with many establishment people in the Cayman, deprived Mr. Ormond of an honest victory.
Mm-hmm.
But I make this point. The members of his party were so indisciplined because they all agreed to tender their resignations, But when push came to shove, only Mr. Ormond tendered his.
Yes.
The other party members welched on the agreement, which leads me to say that in a party, from the time you are sworn in as a member, trust me, your resignation is on file, out of your hands. And it is only left to be dated so that the party can remove you for whatever reason they deem if it is not in the interest of the party.
Yeah,
that's number two.
And that is common practice among some parties, even though it was challenged in Jamaica a few years ago. But, that's common practice.
That is correct, sir. Number three, we have to face the facts and prepare ourselves. Ultimately, independence is going to be thrusted upon us. So it would be wise for us to live with that reality before us. It's just like we are going to die one of these days. As much as we would love to cling to life, it's an inevitability. So all these good colonialists better understand the implications of Brexit and the changing geopolitics of the world and prepare ourselves for that day. I thank you, sir, and I will leave you there.
I agree with you so much on that, Mr. Borden. And what I would encourage everyone to do also to really get a hold on this whole issue of the UK's position is to read the Foreign Affairs Committee, UK Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee 7th report on the relationship between the United Kingdom and its overseas territories. That is so instructive in terms of the view that was taken at that point in time by the UK authorities, and it hasn't changed much since then.
Right, exactly. We as a people, regrettably, we don't read nearly enough, and we are not in the least concerned with our political future.
Yes.
Which to me is very important. Is just as important as our economic future, believe it or not. Because if you don't have good politics, you won't have good economics. Just like if you don't have good economics, you won't have good politics.
Yep.
So there's a symbiotic relationship between both of them. So we should get with the program. I want to end on this. I have always, and my record in the Legislative Assembly will show that, I have always advocated self-determination for the Cayman Islands. I have never been and never will be an apologist for colonialism.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borden, for that. Thank you very much. Well said. We have one more caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator, and good morning, Mr. Bryan.
Good morning, Quincy.
Morning.
What a difficult act to follow when you have Dr. Roy Borden.
Isn't it?
It's a very difficult act to follow. He's astute. He knows what he's talking about. He's a historian, and I listened with my ears glued to the radio when he was on. Thank you, Dr. Roy Borden, for making that call, and I concur 100% with everything you have said. Right. Now, I have two very quick points to make, and I will hang up so that you can get on with your guest, Mr. Bryan, this morning. My first point is emancipation. We're going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. On this day, across the Caribbean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts, St. Nevis, Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad, there are big celebrations.
Bermuda as well. Cup Day in Bermuda.
But I can tell you one thing we're not celebrating.
Nothing here. I said it last year. I said the same thing. I said it.
We are free from slavery, and this is what it means to be emancipated. We have to recall the transatlantic slave trade, and we have to always be cognizant of the fact that we did have slavery in the Cayman Islands, and perhaps slavery continues to this day, but in a different form, known as indentured servantship, with a work permit system, where people are brought in here on cheap labor and treated not as slaves because they're paid, but as indentured servants. So on this day, let us remember our past, from whence we came, and we are free from slavery, and we should be free from political restrictions, free from legal, social, or political restrictions, but knowing that because we're still a colony of Great Britain, we are still shackled by the chains of colonialism. Perhaps this is why we don't celebrate Emancipation Day in its fullest. I'll also say, though, that we need to be teaching it in our schools as a part of civics. And the truth is, before the other Caribbean nations received their emancipation, Cayman was one of the first to get theirs in 1835, during the month of May. Mm-hmm. So in May, we should have a special emancipation celebration. But if we want to keep with the others in the diaspora around the Caribbean, then August 1st should be celebrated as Emancipation Day, as we remember our slavery and remember that we were free from it. My second point is, here on Cayman Brac, I've been asked to be the voice of Brackers who are working with specific companies who cut the hours of the BRAC residents. They give them the least hours, and those on work permit get all the hours and even overtime, as their BRAC counterparts are getting their hours cut. And there's a disparaging statement coming from the other side, them versus us, and it's not right. So I've been asked to bring that to the forefront, not calling the name of the companies, but Brackers are getting their hours slashed, as our counterparts and work permits are getting more hours and overtime, if we can look into that. Happy Emancipation Day, but are we really emancipated? Good day.
Thank you very much for that, Quincy. Mr. Bryan.
Boy. Good morning, OC, and good morning to your listening audience. It's a pleasure to be back on the radio here. It's been a while since I've been on,
yes.
So I'm excited to be on, and there's so many things to speak about. But I want to say, before I talk about Quincy's call, Mr. Roy Borden, it's such a pleasure to listen to you every time. I think I'm going to come knock on your door more often to sit down and just pick your brain. So thank you for your input there. And Quincy, I made some strong points in respect to Emancipation Day. I don't know why administration after administration or the powers that be don't want to recognize it, because slavery was real in Cayman. Mm-hmm. And like the saying goes, if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going. But that's something for me to investigate and then see if I can bring some light to it for the next time around. The last point he made in respect to more work hours for work permit holders over Caymanians is a real issue. I was speaking about this about 2 months ago, where I've had a number of calls from Caymanians who were working, and they recognize that when it's time to cut hours, the hours that are cut are on the Caymanians and not on the work permit holders. Special treatment for extra overtime or anything like that is always given to the work permit holder. And I agree that that is a problem, and I think it should be addressed. But one of the big problems with the lack of a strong tax system is a lack of real-time information, because when you, let's say for instance, if a company had to show its figures of who was working and how many hours they were working, then the government can analyze that to say, okay, then you have a company of 10, 4 work permit holders, 6 Caymanians, but it seems like there's a lot more hours for the 3 work permit holders. And then they can see there's something going on wrong there, and they can make an investigation into that. So let's say, for instance, all 10 of those workers had an agreed 40 hours per week, which is a standard amount of hours. But you see that the 7 Caymanians are only working 32 hours or 29 hours, but yet still the 3 work permit holders are working 49 or 52 hours. That you can see where the discrepancy is. And at the end of the day, the only reason why we should ever have work permit holders is that there is not enough workers for a job in the country, hence the reason we get the work permit. But obviously, sad to say, Quincy, and for those who are also feeling this pinch, this is when employers manipulate the employment structure and the humane way of dealing with Caymanians by taking advantage of this. I don't think that the government or the agencies in respect to employment has educated or enforced the seriousness of that imbalance. I think it's something that the new work department should look into, because it's real. If you undermine a Caymanian from getting less hours and give it more to a work permit holder, they should see that as a problem, because it's just as much as not feeding a Caymanian. So I agree with him wholeheartedly, and I intend to speak to Ms. Sharon Rolston within the next couple of weeks. I'm actually speaking to one of the deputy officers today, chief officers in respect to that area of ministry. So I'll ask questions about that, and hopefully I'll have some more information later. But that being said, OC, there's a lot to talk about this morning. I know you may have to go to a break, but some of the things I would like to speak about, and we can start off with any one of them you like, which is the green iguana calling that was announced by the Department of Environmental Health. Obviously the work permit amnesty that was just announced recently. Also, the growing issue that I'm having from a lot of Caymanians in respect to these government checks that are being given, and Caymanians continue to seem to have a problem changing those checks. And many persons who are receiving them are usually elderly, maybe not as tech efficient as normal as the average person today. And it doesn't seem that the government are making the process any easier for them. I want to try to talk about that. Also, the big issue that's going on with respect to the acting governor and the current governor. Talk a little bit about that, as well as Brexit, because I was over there in the UK for over 3 weeks. Learned so much. I'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after this commercial break.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount, or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly! And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan, so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
It's a Jamaican thing as Flow celebrates Jamaica's independence at Foster's Food Fair, Airport Center on Saturday, August 4th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Come and experience all things Jamaican with food, entertainment, and great Flow deals and prizes. Save big on top-of-the-line Samsung Galaxy smartphones, mobile plan deals, and with a $10 top-up, you can spin and win Flow gear, free data and combo plans, movie tickets, and more. Celebrate Jamaica with Flow, August 4th at Foster's Food Fair. Visit discoverflow.ky for more. Terms and conditions apply.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record with your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have a caller. Before we go to that call, I just want to have some comments in relation to Quincy again. And it was certainly very timely for Quincy to call in and acknowledge the fact that, we're celebrating Emancipation Day. And Mr. Brian, your good friend, Christopher Famous, wrote an article in the Royal Gazette. And it's entitled "One Obvious Alternative to Summer's Day." And basically, they have something called Cup Day, where there's a cricket match between St. George's and, Somerset.
Right. Yes.
And he starts begins his article by quoting the great, iconic Harriet Tubman. And he quotes her, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves."
Yep.
That still goes on today. And then he also ends with a quote from Bob Marley, the great Bob Marley. And I'm not sure, I have to go on the internet to find out how many years between Harriet Tubman's quote and Bob Marley's in relation. He says, talks about emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. So again, Harriet Tubman freed 1,000, could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew that they were slaves. And in our day and age, in the 21st century, Bob Marley is telling us, free ourselves from mental slavery. We're still there. The legacy of slavery cannot be understated. Mm-hmm. They continue to discriminate against black people because of their color. Mm-hmm. And not only black people, but other people of color as well. They continue to discriminate against them. That was one of the same reasons that slavery was so successful in their for using black people as slaves, because they saw the color of their skin as being inferior to those of others, despite the fact that there were indentured slaves who were of a fair complexion and everything else. But when you look at the fact that over the period of time, I forget how many, 200 million people were enslaved, through the slave trade. It was all on the basis of color, skin color.
Well, if I can add a little bit to that, because you see, I have a little bit of a different theory based on my teachings in school and stuff like that. That over the last set of slavery, it is involved to a color thing. But it wasn't always about color, because we know that have been many other slaves that were not of darker color, the Chinese and the Indian and the like. So it's just that we have the last recent hundreds of years of most of the slaves were from Africa. So it's now gone into the minds of the people that it's more about the blacker color skin. But it was about human beings who thought they were better than the other, regardless of what differences in identification. One could be, well, your hair is straight, or it's blonde, or your hair is blonde, or your eyes are blue. I'm a better being or race than you. So the recent one that we have is the whole black and white. So we refer to it in that respect. But I personally think even if all the slaves that came from Africa were Chinese looking, the difference that we would be talking about today is the mindset of the slave owners, psychological damage on the slave of saying, I am better than you. That's what this is about, because it came from a financial foundation as to make this difference between I'm better than you and you're not as good as me. So I try to take away the color aspect, even though that's the foundation or the most visible distinction that people use is the color. But it's not really necessarily only about the color, even though it's an important factor. But what we have is persons who used other human beings to make money. That's what it's really about. But it's not, because they would have used Chinese, they would have used Indians, and we've heard of that. So I try to look at it from that perspective.
And I agree with you to a certain extent, but bear in mind also that especially in the tropics, they did try to use other.
Yes.
And because of their lack of durability, to use that phrase, it's not the best one in the world to use, but because of their lack of durability, they weren't suitable for these climates.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
So then they knew that Africans were
stronger,
physically suitable, for these climates. So on the basis of race, that's why they chose us.
Yeah.
And for those persons who want to really come to grips with this whole racial issue and things, first of all, look at your name. I recognize my last name is Connor. That's a slave name. Yeah. Connor is a slave name. So if you really want to get grips on where you're coming from, first of all, think about your name, your last name. Connor was a slave name. Otherwise, if it weren't a slave name, I would have some African name like Mabutu or Matumbo or something like that.
That's true. Good point.
Not Connor.
Well, Brian is an Irish name, so you know that obviously I didn't. You can see by the color of my skin that I didn't come from Ireland, right? So I must have came from some descendant of slaves. But I just want to voice this and then go to that call, right?
We lost a caller. Hopefully they'll call back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the things that bothers me, OC, is that I am obviously of a newer generation. I don't have as close of a connection to the heart and the pain that many of my forefathers went through and the difficulties of slavery, and I sometimes try to block it out, and I intentionally do it, because when I think about the difficulties my forefathers went through from slavery perspective, it makes me angry. I get really upset. I don't know how. It gives me an example of some people in my community who come from that era, who are of darker color skin, and you ask why they're so angry. They have every right to be so angry, because they were discriminated against in every way, shape, or form. Very intelligent individuals who never had the fair opportunity of life and success and family and community and all the elements that you can think of. So when I think about it too much, it bothers me. So I try myself to say, okay, be balanced, because you don't want your mind to be unsettled, because you have to make decisions on many things. So I really have a strong struggle with that. But somebody else will say to me, Kenneth, you need to understand, you need to feel that in order to deal with it. But it's a hard balance to keep. I could definitely admit that.
Okay. I know we want to talk about several issues. There are some of those topics that will generate a lot of interest, and we probably get a lot of calls. So we probably start with those that are not as controversial.
Yes, I was thinking about the iguanas.
and the iguanas. And what I have here is a press release that was sent out, and it was advising of a press conference on the green iguana Cullen RFI, and it was sent out and says it's sent out to media representatives, and it says that the Cayman Islands government Department of Environment has commenced the first stage of a government-funded initiative aimed at large-scale removal of green iguanas in Cayman. Large-scale removal. I think it's important to note that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
As part of that process, the DOE is issuing a request for information. Not a request for a proposal, but a request for information for the purposes of gathering information about the marketplace in order to assist in the determination of local capacity to deliver green iguana culling services. The Department of Environment is to hold an informal press conference accompanying the release of the RFI. Press conference will be held Tuesday, 31st of July, 2:30 at the Department of Environment Conference Room, second floor. That's basically all that I have in relation to it. But it does appear as if it is for mass culling, and they're seeking information to determine the local capacity to deliver green iguana culling services.
Okay, well, OC, I think we should go back a little bit in respect to this in order to get my synopsis of this.
Let's take the call first, because it may be the same caller that we lost before. Okay. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning to both of you. Nice to hear your voices. Nice to hear the subject you're discussing this morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Two things I'd like to just mention. I listened to your take on the slavery issue, Mr. Bryan. I listened to your take on it too. And I also listened to what Mr. Quincy was telling us was now occurring in Cayman Brac.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a book that I found a few years ago. It's available online. It's called The Tragedy of Morant Bay. And it throws a whole new light on what we know as the Morant Bay Rebellion, which was really a massacre that took place.
Yes.
And what the person that wrote it, by the way, came from England, the General Secretary of the Baptist Church, because the Baptist Church was one of the moving forces for the abolition of slavery in the United Kingdom, and they wanted to see the state of Negroes in the West Indies, and they went from Trinidad all the way up to Jamaica. And it's a very interesting book. I won't get into too much detail of it, but I encourage everybody to read it, and you'll understand why Barbados has been a progressive, good country versus the tragedy that Jamaica has been, because the way Jamaica was run.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing was that in Jamaica, they had imported indentured servants from India. Over 30,000 had been imported. The total population in Jamaica at the time was around 300,000. Because the plantation owners did not want to give employment to the Negroes that had received freedom in 1838. This was about 1864 when he reached Jamaica. And then it was a report that he wrote about why things were going on the way they were and why things were so bad. And then Governor Eyre is the one that ordered the massacre. And he was sent back, he was called back to England to be tried for that massacre, but he wasn't. He was allowed to disappear into the woodwork up there. And what I gather from that is the parallel that we have here in Cayman and in the Cayman Islands, in the fact that salaries have been stagnant since about the early 90s, and the cost of living has continued to go up. But because we can import labor, when we grow the country and it's grown on the back of cheap labor, we build an unrealistic economy. And we have no controls, no plan for development. We're now in excess of 50% of the workforce. It's always been 60, 70% probably, but they hide the figures, can't trust government, is expatriate labor. for a labor rate of $6 an hour, $48 a day for an 8-day work week, or for an 8-hour work day. Hey man, nobody can live on that. And they'd have this amnesty about if you don't work. People have to work with the society that we have created. We have imported poverty. We have, by our laws, people have to violate the laws in order to live. And they're here to earn money to send home. And so they work 2 and 3 jobs. They send them home. On Crew Road, they have house advertised, 3 bedrooms, can sleep 12.
But Billy, who is the beneficiaries of this flooded market of employees?
Who is the beneficiary?
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, it's getting condensed as to who is the beneficiary. A lot of it is in people that have been imported and seen the goodness of coming to the Cayman Islands. The red carpet is thrown down, and government opens up to them. Some of them, I think, are even going to change their last name soon.
Well, what I was hoping that you would have agreed with me on was the fact that when you have a flooded market like that, and you have persons who are willing to do anything to survive, is the employer, because then you can take advantage of that flooded employee market by paying them less, treating them worse, as well as the other beneficiary is government just getting collection of the funds from the work permits, because they have no true measure of how much is needed. They use the ruler to measure it based on the application amounts. There's no other ruler. They have no economic plan to prove to say this is how much is needed. They only go that based on, okay, look at how much requests we have. People are always going to request because they want to take advantage of our opportunities here. But you don't just give it out just because people are requesting it.
Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We've gone past our break at this point in time. Thanks for calling in. We have another caller on hold. We're going to ask that caller to just hang in there, take a quick commercial break. We'll take your call right after.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
A pharmacy is where you go for medicine and for the pharmacist's advice on how to take them. Here at CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, our pharmacists are trusted health professionals whose job is to help people receive the best results out of their medicine. They know exactly what's in your prescriptions and will be happy to answer any of your questions. You can be sure that our pharmacists will see that your medicine is at the right strength, in the right dose, and will check that you yourself know how to take them or use them properly. Come in today for a consultation with our pharmacist at CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah, and they have lots of cars on sale, some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount, or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly. And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Initiating system.
For information that matter, for the record, with Orrett Connor, continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Going straight to the phone lines as promised. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning for the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. Okay, how are you? And good morning to your guest.
Good morning, Mr. Macfield. Dr. Macfield.
I want to follow up on what President Roy Boden's call.
Mm-hmm.
He said, another great book that you can get a great account of the 1962 debacle is a book called Caymanian Politics. Okay. I don't know if you have a copy of it. It's out of print now, but it's published by University of Uppsala in Sweden, and it's written by a man called Orrett. He was here during that period, and he also chronicles the greatest march ever happened in Cayman in 1970, led by Gilbert McLean and Jim Borden and Masana Borden and the late Burt Watler. And the betrayal of Mr. Panton is a historical black mark in our history. And I knew the man personally. He was my friend, my brother. We spoke every day. He was our first president of the Bar Association. We were all the founding members of the Caymanian Bar Association. So I know him personally, and I know him up until the day he died and what he thought and his thinking. I'm a prodigy of him, and like Roy Borden, he is my hero. He's my political hero in Cayman Islands. You have to. There is no Caymanian book written about the slave trade in Cayman. You have to glean it from the archives, and it's not a good history, and that's why people don't teach it in the school, because it's very storied and not a good history. The slave trade here was not much different from what had happened in other countries in the Caribbean. The only exception was that the product in which they were producing here was different. We didn't have the cane and sugar. We didn't have the cane. We had the cotton, and we had the turtle and that was quite different. There's a great story that you should try to get it. Look, if you can look it up on your computer, I think you can find it. Okay. It's called Zong Massacre.
Can you repeat that again, Doc?
The Zong Massacre.
Okay.
And there's a trial about whether or not they could have tried the people who killed all the slaves to get the insurance money from them, because the slave was considered to be property. And when the ship missed its target to reach Jamaica on a certain time, and the food ran out, and people started dying on the ship, they threw them overboard to lighten up the ship. Threw them overboard so they could have more food for those on board the ship. And the question was, and they applied for the insurance money, and they say that they were property. They were like wood, cattle, and that they were not human beings, and that they need to get the insurance for their cargo. And there was a trial in England and in Montego. When they came into Black River, one of the slaves on board the ship told a story. Hundreds of them jumped overboard. The slaves jumped overboard and gave up their lives to the sea, and so forth. It's a sorry story of slavery. But let me tell.
Very quickly, Doc. We have one more caller we want to catch before 9 o'clock. Very quickly.
But let me tell you, I just don't understand why all the baloo about the culling of the iguanas. You know, our forefathers were probably some of the best street educated people, although they didn't have any university to go to. When we had the agouti problem in Cayman, when the agouti was killing all the crops, they shot gun license for 5 shillings a year, and you could buy cartridges from all the grocery stores. And they called the agouti. The government was giving a shilling and 6 months for every head of agouti rabbits you could bring into the government house, and they would give you 1 shilling and 6 months a head. Today, we are so far advanced, I don't understand what's the problem.
I agree with you, Dr. Macfield, 100%.
Simple problem.
Yes.
You get supported the people, you give them the appropriate equipment, and they can go out and kill iguanas like we did with the agouti. It's so problem. But you see now, everybody's so educated now, and common sense is not common sense anymore.
Thank you very much for that. I ask you to leave us there. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning, Mr. Bryan.
Good morning, ma'am.
I am happy because today God has spared my life to OC, 66 years of age. This is Shirlene Schmidt from West Bay.
Congratulations to you. Have a birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. But I wanted to thank God first of all, because just last year I had to have my left kidney and my adrenal gland removed. So far, I haven't had any problems. So God has spared my life, and I thank Him. I thank my husband, Peter, my son, Patrick, and Mr. Bryan. I want you and the rest of the politicians that we can depend on, like Mr. Ezard and Mr. Arden and Mr. Suku, Mr. Saunders, to keep on pushing for Caymanians that is educated, Caymanians that would work and need a job to be in their rightful places in the Cayman Islands instead of being third and fourth class citizens. Thank God for sparing my life, and thank you all for a good program. Never give up this program. This is an excellent, informative, and I enjoy hearing Dr. Macfield each time that he comes on. Thanks very much. God bless you all.
Enjoy your day today, and we hope that you live to see many, many more as well. We have about 2 minutes before we go to our headline news. So, Mr. Bryan.
I just want to say a happy birthday again to our last caller there. But I want to take this opportunity to go back to what we were talking about initially in respect to the statement from the Department of Environmental Health about the green iguana calling. Now, we heard that the department was calling for persons requesting information. Basically, and I just, unfortunately, and I wanted the public to forgive me for this, I was just actually on the phone with Ms. Gina, who politely called me back, trying to get some more information, but obviously we couldn't talk so much while we're live on air. And I know that she's probably listening at this moment, that she wants to call in so the public can hear the full details of it. Because as I was saying before we went to the break, going backward a little bit will help you understand where my thought process is. Because when the government announced this in the last sitting of the House, they have had money allocated to deal with this problem. And some of the discussions and agreements, according to my memory, was you remember the last time only certain people had the opportunity to take advantage of this program from a financial perspective, because you had to have a license to do it and the like. And many of the members of the elected House suggested that, listen, why not give this an opportunity for many Caymanians who may not be working and see it as an easy process to go and collect some iguanas, quite similarly to what Dr. Macfield just said. Why are we overcomplicating this matter? You put a price on their head, you go out, if you get some of them, you bring them into the department and we'll pay you the money for it. It's quite simple. I mean, and I think we're overcomplicating this matter. So that was the attitude when it was presented to Parliament. Now I'm a bit concerned based on the press conference yesterday. I may be overreacting a little bit, but because the lack of information is where my concern or my questions come up. So, for one, this press release was only sent out to the media. It wasn't sent out to any other MLAs, and I can't represent my people to say to them, listen, get involved in this process, because I didn't even know about it. Secondly, what is the plan? Is it a plan? Because from what I'm gathering...
Go ahead. Go talk.
From what I'm gathering here, it sounds like we're trying to assess from information what to do. I thought we already knew what we were going to do in this respect, which is put a price on the head of the iguanas and allow Caymanians to go out there and bring them in and collect money for it. I think if we give too many people, if we make it be a situation where selected people have to get a contract or something like that, it will stop many people from taking advantage of it. Okay,
we're going to headline news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, with Mr. Kenneth Bryan, we'll continue right after this.
Satisfaction. satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Today, police, fire, and members of the Department of Public Safety and Communications participate in an inshore search and rescue exercise, also known as ISAREX. It's taking place between 1 and 4 p.m. at West Bay Public Beach. A U.S. federal judge in Seattle has blocked the release of software that allows consumers to 3D print firearms. Gun access advocacy group Defense Distributed published downloadable gun blueprints 5 days early on Friday. The firm had reached a settlement with the Trump administration in June to allow it to legally publish the plans. And a passenger plane has crashed in the Mexican capital of Durango State just moments after takeoff. All 103 passengers and crew on board the Aeromexico flight survived the crash, but 97 of them are injured. The airport operator said early data suggests bad weather was the cause and that the plane had taken off during a heavy hailstorm before it was forced to attempt an emergency landing. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan. We've had so many calls, we haven't really had an opportunity to get on track. But I know you don't mind the calls coming in, but at the same time, we know that you have a small agenda as well, and our short agenda, and we want you to be able to cover those items also, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you so much, OC. And as right before we went to the break, we were just discussing the green iguana element. I would just like the Department of Environmental Health to publicly educate the people as to what the plan is. It is my viewpoint that it should be quite simple and straightforward in respect to this program to reduce the numbers of iguanas in this country. One that should be simple, where Caymanians are allowed, and Caymanians only, I clarify, should be allowed to go out there and capture them and get the reward for it. Not make it be too complicated where an average person, average Caymanian can't do it. I would hate to see that the government puts it out to some company to do it, which would create another middleman, which would be less money for a Caymanian to go out there and take advantage of it. We still have a lot of Caymanians who are finding difficulty in the work environment and who would love to take advantage of this. And I know there's a number of people in my constituency are looking forward to it. So I expect that there'll be some more clarity as to the situation. I'm surprised it took this long because we mentioned this almost a year ago. But at least it's starting. So some more clarity in that respect would be great.
Now we haven't brought in any experts yet, and I hope that there's not a need to bring any experts in on this. But there's obviously there's a lack of direction in terms of how we go about the culling. I was talking, we were talking at our round table in Rockhole the other day, and someone, Fredo, from Rotan, knows about it, and they were talking about the population of iguanas in Rotan and how it has diminished
so much.
And the reason that it has diminished is because the female iguanas are the ones that are attractive to people in terms of using them for culinary purposes, especially with the eggs. So as a result of them hunting the female iguanas, they've seen the population really drop to the point where it's almost very difficult to find them there now. Yes. So that tells you something in terms of the direction that we may want to go there. Place more emphasis on the female ones, on the female, so that you reduce the number of eggs that are being produced, out there.
Yeah,
so that
year.
may be one way to go about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe you want to put a higher bounty on the head of the female iguanas, or I should say on the stomach of the female iguanas, rather than the male.
Yeah, that's a good point. But if I can throw this a theory out there once again, because I have to bear in mind there's going to be people out there from an environmentalist perspective talking about killing animals, right? You want to preserve the earth, and anytime we kill an animal, we're not helping the earth progress. But particularly in Honduras, where we know the numbers of iguanas are really, really low, are actually endangered, to be honest, because it was a cuisine in Honduras. They actually have special parks where it's forbidden to capture, to eat, or anything like that over there. And they have legislation for it. And I suggested this over 5 years ago. And I remember speaking about it so often. Why couldn't we have an agreement with a nation such as that? And I know that there's other nations as well, other than Honduras, that have the same problem. To say, listen, we have them in abundance here. Let's have an agreement whereby you help with the cost of capture by, say, for instance, whether it be the transport back to your country with cages and the like. And then we can help with the other half of the cost where we say, listen, you go catch them, but make sure you catch them alive, and the country of origin where they're going to go to, they're responsible for the caging and the transport back to their jurisdiction. And I think that would have been good for the earth overall. Now, if that's too complicated, I don't know if it's ever been investigated. I think it would have been good for the overall continuation of the iguana and on the planet as a whole. Because we don't want to hear one day that actually the green iguana goes extinct, which the likelihood of that is so slim because they're so serious. But we have to remember our responsibility to earth. But that being said, I still think that one thing I don't want to see is the average Caymanian miss out on the opportunity to take advantage of this bounty on the heads of the iguanas. And also, I think it would be more effective if you make everybody be able to have the opportunity at reaping the reward in that. And I expected the Department of Environmental Health to be more clear on what the plan is, so particularly with the representatives as well, so they can then inform their representatives. So I'll take the opportunity now to possibly move on to another topic, because I know we're running out of time.
We don't have any calls now, Ms. Susan. One call?
Okay.
Let's take the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. and Kenny. I hear you all saying that you're hoping this don't happen, hope that don't happen. But let me tell you something. Just to show Jesus Christ died for sinners, you're going to find they're going to bring in somebody here to tell us how to get rid of them. That is our norm. We cannot get rid of that. We must spend millions of taxpayers' dollars on this, on bringing in these so-called experts who, the ones that you're going to get rid of them iguanas, I can tell you right now, is you get some of your rifles and some guys who know to shoot. That's the ones that you're going to get rid of them. I guarantee you, at the end of the day, some foreign company is going to come in here and claim to be the know-it-all with these, come in here with a resume that take us back into the last 100 years, and they're going to come in here and they're going to be the one that is going to be making the money, and the little Caymanian who's going to be out there pushing to try to get it, he ain't going to be making payments. That's how it always happens with us here in Cayman. So that's my input in it.
Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can tell the Department of Environmental Health, if there seems to be any company whatsoever, you're going to have a protest from me. I don't see why you can't do exactly what we've done before with the agouti. The average Caymanian, I know many Caymanians who catch iguanas every day. Matter of fact, I catch iguanas. I'm sick and tired of them in my yard. You understand? So, because one of the things that if you put the hurdle of an air rifle between the opportunity to get them and take advantage of it, automatically you're going to cut out about 98% of the country. Because the gun element of it, the police department is not going to be comfortable with that. So you're going to eliminate so many people. So you have to cut that out right away. So if the Department of Environmental Health is intending to have a program of gunning them down, and that's the only option for you to make money off of calling them, then we have a major problem, because the average person is not going to be able to take advantage of that. Let's say, for instance, a past criminal who has a record for smoking marijuana ain't going to be able to get no air gun rifle license, and we all know that. So don't bring that garbage to the table. I think they overcomplicate this matter. I want every average Caymanian to take an opportunity at this. And I think if you have the whole country involved, matter of fact, you can have a CEO of a bank say, listen, man, I can make an extra couple of $50 myself. I go and catch 7 of them, and that's maybe $35 in my pocket. And I think that would be more of an effective way rather than saying this only elite 100 people can go get them. Yeah. So I hence again, lack of information causing confusion. There needs to be clarity on it. And I expected the department or the minister, which is the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, to get out and give some clarity to the people, because many people were sitting around depending on this funds to actually make a little income because they can't get work elsewhere. So we need some information so the public can answer.
Just one last word on this, and then we can move on to maybe talk about the immigration amnesty.
Yes.
In Florida, we see, again, they also encourage the culling, but they have restrictions in terms of that it must be done in a humane way so that they don't suffer and stuff like that. While I'm an animal lover and everything else, I don't want us to get caught up
I agree.
into that, where we start to put limitations on people. Some people use the snare and snare them and catch them alive. Some people use the snare after they catch them, they may use a machete or whatever and chop their head off or whatever. I don't think that we really want to get too much into that because these things are really, really, they're a scourge on our society. Yep. They're a menace and everything else. All you have to do is talk, not necessarily even to farmers. All you have to talk is to those persons who are trying to do a little backyard farming. Yeah. You try to plant, a few pumpkin seeds out there. As soon as they stick the leaves out, they head out of the ground, the iguanas wipe them out. Wipe them out. One more call. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
The recording.
Person hung up.
Okay.
Immigration amnesty.
Yes. Okay. So I want to say first off, I'm happy for this. Happy but concerned. The fact is, we should never have to have an immigration amnesty in the first place.
Why?
Because we should have an enforcement process that is in place and a tracking system in place so good that we should never be concerned that there's anybody out there doing anything wrong. But obviously,
you can only track people's behavior to a certain extent.
That's true. That's true. I like to be a perfectionist. So but that being said, I am glad that it's happening, because here's what I'm going to say: after this amnesty is over, I will be a pusher and supporter of the biggest set of enforcement ever seen by the Immigration Department, because you know how I feel about immigration and its connectivity to employment for Caymanians and what employment for Caymanians mean for the livelihood of Caymanians. That's how they feed themselves, that's how they live. And immigration is connected to that severely because of the work permit element. So once this amnesty is up, I expect that the enforcement arm of the Immigration Department is going to be ruthless with the employers and those who violate the work permit process. Because when you violate the immigration process and work permit process in this country, I consider it treasonous to a Caymanian, because work opportunities is a way of living for a Caymanian. So, good, here's your little chance. Leave now, please, nicely, because afterwards, I expect the government to take a hardball approach on this. So that being said.
And this amnesty starts on 1st of August at 8:30 in the morning. So it's already in effect, and it'll end on the 31st of August at 3 p.m. It's intended persons, the persons who this is targeted for, persons who are residing illegal in the Cayman Islands. That is, individuals without a valid work permit or any other lawful permission to remain in the island. So you may have been here on a work permit. That work permit expired. You no longer have a valid work permit, or you may have come here as a visitor and you may have overstayed your stay. I believe that the visitor part of it is basically you don't have as many overstayers in the visitor category, simply because those jurisdictions that we did have issues with people overstaying, we now have a visa regime in place for them. The visa regime, normally you're required to have a sponsor, someone who's going to sponsor you here. Immigration has all of the vital information on that person. So when they run their overstayers list and someone from a visa country is recognized on there, they can easily refer back to their application to see who the person came to, and they have a way of tracing them. The other category is employers who cancel work permits for employees for whom they have no work. So there's an amnesty for that. So if you have an employee, you have no work for them, but they're out there, they're farmed out to someone else, you get an opportunity to cancel it as well. So it's not just for overstayers and stuff like that.
You said a very strong point there just now. Who's farmed out to somebody else? That is a severe problem in this country in respect to persons who have a legitimate working permit, but the company know they're not going to work, and they say, okay, I can make a side money, send them to this company over here to get some work. That's against the law. And I expect to see the government department take a strong ball approach also to these employers who violate this process, because they are hurting the rest of Caymanians as well. So I expect them to take a hardball approach for any Caymanian who does this, because this is wrong.
Well, the amnesty is extended to them as well. We have to take a commercial break. When we return, there are two other categories that I will talk about as well. And then we can also talk about, while this amnesty is in place, what actually will be taking place also. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Not all insurance is created equal, but who has the time to shop around? Take the guesswork out of your insurance coverage with Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Let us match you with the best coverage to suit your needs at a price to suit your wallet. Plus, get superior customer service from dedicated claims professionals to ensure speedy claims processing. Get your insurance through Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Did you know that you can download free hurricane preparedness brochures from the Water Authority's website? Visit us online at www.waterauthority.ky to learn more about how you can prevent damage and minimize danger in the event of a storm. Prepared, be aware, be safe. This hurricane preparedness tip is brought to you by Water Authority Cayman, suppliers of the world's most popular drink.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor, continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan. We're now talking about Department of Immigration's announcement of an immigration amnesty that started at 8:30 this morning and will end on the 31st of August at 3 p.m. Categories, persons who are residing illegally in the Cayman Islands, that is individuals without a valid work permit or any other lawful permission to remain in the islands. Employers are allowed to cancel work permits for employees for whom they have no work. Similarly, employees who are employed on a valid work permit but whose employers no longer have full-time employment for them may cancel their work permits. Also, workers who are not working for the employer named on the work permit will be allowed the opportunity to depart voluntarily as well. Now, we're hoping that many of you are listening to this and that you're going to take advantage of it. We know that some of you on your work sites and stuff like that, you do have the benefit of listening to radios and so that you hear this. So if you're out there illegally, this is the time for you to pack up those tools, go home, pack your bags, get make all of your preparations to leave. One important aspect of this, Mr. Bryan, and I'm looking at one paragraph here, it says the public is reminded that although the amnesty is in place, the Immigration Enforcement Division will continue with targeted operations and proactive patrols with partner agencies throughout the island. So despite the fact that there's an amnesty in place, they're going to still continue with their operation. So if they come on a job site and they find you there and you're not working for your employer, don't say to the immigration department or the immigration officer, oh, I was going to take advantage of the amnesty and I was going to go home. Well, you have been served notice that you can do so now. So if they come and find you out there, that's not going to be a valid excuse. Yeah. The other thing that I made a note of this, that I see absent from this is they have not said whether or not those employers who cancel work permits and come in and say, I'm canceling my work permit because I no longer have any work, or the employee who says, I'm canceling my work permit because my employer doesn't have any work for me, whether or not that will be used against them at a later date if they do apply for a work permit again. I haven't seen that in the release. I will read it thoroughly again to see whether or not this is without the cancellations or without prejudice, or whether or not when they apply for a work permit again, the board may say, well, the last time we issued a work permit for you, you cancel it because you didn't have any work.
Well, I can't see how well, let me say two things. One, according to the news that I think I heard here on the station, which is not necessarily attached to that release, persons would not be held as a black mark against them. And I can't see how, if a person or a company says, listen, unfortunately business is bad and the work that I thought I had for this person I no longer have, I have to cancel it, that person goes away and comes back to apply. They haven't done anything wrong, they're actually being honest. So I can't see how that could be held against them. And vice versa for a work permit employee to say, listen, it didn't work out with this company, but that doesn't mean I can't offer up good services to this country all the same at another later date.
Yeah.
So I don't think it should, even if it is, I don't think it would be a wise thing to do.
Yeah, I'll try to look it over to see if anything that we still have that caller, Ms. Susan. One caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
This is a recording.
We lost him.
Yes. Okay, I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about a little bit about Brexit. As you know, I was away over in the UK for over 3 weeks, 3 weeks and a couple of days, and I had the opportunity to be in full swing of all the negotiations and the questions to the Prime Minister, and as they were trying to get the deals all sorted. And I must say, a lot of people may not be fully aware of the complexities of what Brexit is, what is happening within Brexit right now in the UK. And what kind of hotcakes the whole country is in, but it is serious. And I think, and I'm hoping that the current administration, which is led by the Honourable Premier, is paying a full focus on what is happening there, because obviously what happens in the UK is going to reflect on us tremendously. And you can tell by just the value of the UK pound right now, which has dropped so much. It tells you about their economy and the likes and the support that we're getting from it. One of the other things that are of concern for me is that Theresa May is so weak right now. And in the future, when the election comes around, I'm a bit worried that, not because I think Corbyn is a bad person, but I don't think he's in favor of the Cayman Islands, which is the opposition leader. We think we're having pressure now from the current administration. If Corbyn was in, I think we would have more pressures, particularly from our financial services perspective. And what it leads me to come to the conclusion, OC, and the listening audience, is that Cayman has to be more reserved on its spending habits and its ventures that it steps into, particularly when you think about the port and other major projects. I'm a bit worried. Every time we seem to go into any major project, it always goes over budget by within the tens of millions of dollars. And I am worried that we may see some down days in the future within the next few years. With that being said, and particularly now that the times are really good, this administration does not have a history of knowing how to save for a rainy day. They've actually proven the opposite, spending all the money out and not preparing for a rainy day. And I want to say this on record today. I expect that you do not make history repeat itself. Things are good. We saw the newspapers yesterday about the numbers in tourism continue to increase. And it's projected to do so at least for another year or so. As the other countries within our region, Caribbean region, are still trying to recover from the hurricane devastation. This is the time for us to put money away. Things could get a little bit dark in the future because of the fears that we have. But,
so you don't believe that they're putting that at this point in time that they're putting money away? Because while we have we're compliant. Mm-hmm. You know, in relation to the FFR mm-hmm. and everything else, mm-hmm. It seems as if the government reserves, mm-hmm. Based on what the government has said, the government reserves have actually increased.
Yes, well, from a compliance from perspective of FFR, yes, mm-hmm. and they're legally obligated to do that. Mm-hmm. If that legal, but
even beyond that,
even without that legal obligation, I don't think they would be doing it. That's mm-hmm. my opinion. But that being said, what I'm saying is, what I expect of the government is to be more mindful in its endeavors or any ventures it goes down. And one of those that come to mind is the port. Secondly, we've just heard, but just a few months back, about the overspend on the airport. Every time this administration led by these individuals get involved in any project, it goes over budget and it costs the country. I do not expect that. We don't have the luxury of having overspending again in respect to the fear of down days in the future. So I want you to be mindful of that. I want to be down on the record today because come 2021 and you messed up our money, I will be holding you accountable when it's time for campaign. So that's straight politics. Be concerned. You've had a habit of doing it before and the people are watching. So please be mindful because a lot of things are building up against us, particularly with our financial services, particularly what's happening with the UK. And we can't expect that this income that is coming from the tourism perspective is going to be constant. Things are good today. But when the other countries get back on their feet and tourism start going well, let's not get too accustomed to making that extra $1,000 on your salary. Your true salary is $5,000, but because you're making $6,500 now, remember the $6,500 is only going to be for a certain period of time. So stick to where your income bracket truly is balanced. That's all I'm saying as an example. Anyway, moving on.
Well, we about that time, yeah. So I want to give you an opportunity for a closing comment. You thought you were on the 10 o'clock schedule. We're getting there, but we haven't gotten there yet.
OC, thank you so much for the opportunity to be back on. One of the things I didn't tackle, which was cost of living, but I will tackle that the next time I'm on. And the reason why I didn't want to tackle it today is because it's so easy to say, oh, the cost of living is this and what is the government doing? I hope that the next time we are here that I can offer up some solutions to those cost of living problems that the government can do, and then we're going to see whether they're willing to choose to do them. Anyway, that being said, it was a pleasure to be on here. I know I'm controversial, but I don't intend to change at any point in time. I will continue to fight for the people of the Cayman Islands. That means every single Caymanian, no matter whether you're here by plane, by paper, or any other way. I consider myself a fighter for the people, and I want to continue to do that. I want to say thank you for everybody who gave me the opportunity to do that. And for each and every one of you who've been listening today, I hope you have a God-blessed day. And remember to love each other and love yourselves.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bryan, for being here as well. I want to thank our listening and viewing audience as well for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If we can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want. Remember, today again is the 1st of August. Emancipation Day is celebrated in many, many countries today. Some countries use another date for various reasons. Unfortunately, we see no headlines in the newspapers here in the Cayman Islands. We see no government issued proclamation in relation to Emancipation Day. And my question is that because we are still suffering from mental slavery? We are still enslaved mentally, and as a result of that, we fail to recognize, to acknowledge the fact that slavery did occur here in the Cayman Islands, that some of the last names, the surnames that we possess are slave names. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Drainey Banks at 12 noon, 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking and pension needs, call or visit a Fidelity branch today. Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealerships serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Base and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling Seaboard Marine at 949-4977.
Oh, Cayman Moon.
The voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
Shining down from above.
We love our listeners. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.